Welcome back to the Eight Man Breakdowns podcast. This is where we discuss all phases of the game of football, including philosophy, play concepts, questions, and more. Today's topic is competing with low numbers. So today I'm going to talk about some things that you can do to try to compete with smaller roster numbers. So maybe your school just has always had lower enrollment, or maybe the kids don't go out for football for whatever reason. The boys in your high school just don't go out. Either way, if you got less numbers than you want, that's what we're going to get into today is competing with lower roster numbers. So the range is what I'm talking about for 8-man. I'm talking probably like anywhere from 8 to 20 players in your roster. I would consider that low roster numbers. Okay, if we're talking 11-man, probably anywhere from 11 to 30-ish. All right, so somewhere in there. But 8-man, 8 to 20-ish. I would say from my experience when I was in high school, my freshman year, we had 33 on the team, which was a ton. It was basically every boy in the high school. I think there was maybe 3 or 4 boys in the entire 4 upper grades in high school that didn't go out. So, and actually the second lowest we ever had was 28. So 33 was the most we had. 28 was the lowest I ever had in my 4 years. So we consistently had above that range. So I would consider the 8 to 20 range kind of the lowest. And so consider that low numbers. Let's get into it though. The first step, and I know this is something everybody always says no matter what, but it's important because it is extremely imperative that you use the weight room. So the biggest life lesson that the weight room teaches, though, just for anybody, is you put in the consistent effort and time, the results are going to show. So if you're a school that unfortunately struggles getting guys in the weight room, then it probably shows. Now, there's still going to be them 1 to 2 dudes that are always going to stand out, whether they're consistently in the weight room, especially in the offseason or not, doesn't really matter. But I'm going to say as a new coach going into a new school system, if you're not the PE teacher or the strength coach now, then I would definitely suggest reaching out to the PE teacher and strength coach well before you get involved in the summer workouts and figure out what their plan is or what it has been in the past and go from there. Because if you can get the majority of your players to come in during the off season and the summer workouts, that's huge. To me, honestly, the off-season workout program, though, is more about team building, right? Who's willing to get up at 6:30 in the morning in the summer, when it's not required to be at school and come into school and lift weights, and get better. So, I mean, to me, it's more of a team bonding situation, but it is very imperative to use the weight room. All right. So that's number one. Use the weight room and get them involved. Number two is just to simplify your terminology. So if you have less numbers, 8 to 20 range, like I'm saying, you might have to have guys playing both ways all the time. And you can't really risk injuries. You can't really get anybody sick or hopefully no COVID issues, and hopefully no ineligibility issues. So the reason for that obviously is you lose 1 or 2 of your top guys and you only have 10 to 12 or 20 on the team. You might not trust the experience level of whatever backup person you're putting in there, right? So simplify your terminology simply because you might have kids playing at a position or might have to know multiple positions because when you're lacking depth, you're going to have multiple people be ready to play multiple positions. So simplify your terminology however you can do that, especially if you're a first year coach going in. I think it's really important to simplify your terminology. And that goes right into the next one of condensing your playbook. Okay, so I already made a podcast and talked about this of kind of developing your offense from scratch. Kind of the same thing for your full playbook, offense, defense. To me, less is more, always, especially with low roster numbers. You might have to only run one defense all the time. You might have to run 6 to 8 offensive concepts. It might be that. It might be you try to run more formations offensively and less plays, just mix it up and try to keep it off balance, try to catch the defense off guard by using different looks, but the same concept. Just that way your kids really understand each concept that you're doing. And same thing like I was saying on defense, it might be you run one defense, but you do different stunts and blitzes and you disguise coverage and all that to try to change things up, basically look more detailed than it really is, right? Try to confuse the offense a little bit defensively. And so number 3 there, condensing your playbook. If you put something in your playbook long ago and, it was something you really liked then, but you don't do it that much anymore, then maybe think about tossing it out or just putting it on the back burner and you could always reinstall it, reintroduce it to your players later. But like I said, I believe less is more, especially when you have less players on your team. All right. So the next thing I would say is make it fun, right? Make it fun for your players. If your players are having fun, the 8 to 10 to 20 guys you have out, and your school you struggle with getting guys to go out, that's going to encourage other players to go out. They're going to say, dude, football is fun. You know, we might not always win the games. We don't have that many guys or whatever the case is, but it's fun to be out there. I love being around coach. He's teaching me so much about the game, whatever the case is. So celebrate the successes, you know, give rewards for offseason attendance, you know, different performances in the game, give them rewards for it. Celebrate and recognize what you want to see more of. Okay. So that kind of went back into my other one, my motivating your players podcast, where I talked about helmet stickers is my big thing. And it promotes, you know, good performance or good behavior in and outside of the classroom and on the field. Because if they get a helmet sticker for doing something that I want them to do, they're going to keep doing it if they like getting the helmet sticker, which they all do. I've already found that out in the short time I've been at this new school. So make it fun for the players. Okay. Then after that, I would say shorten your practices. Go with short and intense situations, live game speed situations in practice, you know, 2 to 3 times a week, but shorten the length of it down. If you have 8 to 20 guys, again, like I've been saying this whole time for your, you know, your smaller roster numbers, then if you're going 3 hours a day, long and hard practices, that's just going to have an even worse result on Friday. Kids are going to be worn down before the game even starts on Friday, and you already have a small group of players to choose from putting on the field. So I believe shortening practices is very beneficial to a smaller roster team. You know, do short and intense, like I said, live game speed, in-game situations. All right, less contact with more technique, even specifically defensively. You don't want to get anybody hurt in practice when you only have 8 to 20 guys in your whole team. And finally, all you need is 8 players. At the end of the day, that's all you need. So I'll tell a quick story real quick. My first year coaching junior high, we only had 10 players on an 8-man team. And basically, going into it, me and the other coach, we did all these steps. You know, we simplified our terminology. We knew our guys were going to have to play multiple positions. So we kept it extremely condensed in a playbook, only ran one defense, probably about 6 concepts offensively, honestly. And we didn't have many formations, 2 or 3. Luckily, we had a great group of 10 kids that worked hard, you know, and tried and took it serious. And we went 7-0. We went undefeated. We actually went undefeated 2 years in a row. But that first year we had 10 kids, and then second we had 13. So we had extremely low numbers, but we made it fun for them. You know, we rewarded them, did the helmet sticker deal, had short practices. Actually, we couldn't control the short practices because they were built into the school day. So they were automatically only about an hour long every day. But like I said, at the end of the day, we made it fun for them. We celebrated all the successes. We had short practices already. You know, we just kept the terminology fairly simplified in a small playbook, and kids were really able to pick up on it and understand it. And yeah, it was awesome. Like I said, all you need is 8. At the end of the day, that's all you need. And that's going to do it for this episode of the 8-Man Breakdowns podcast. Remember, videos come out every Tuesday night, so be sure to tune in. If you have a question for me, the best way to reach me is by commenting in the comment section below. If you've learned anything or enjoyed any of these videos, please click subscribe and check out some of my other videos right here on the screen. And like always, thanks for tuning in, guys.